Don't build a course that nobody wants. You'll be wasting all your time and effort and your course won't sell. But don't worry, we'll get that fixed. Watch this video and I'll show you how to resolve it. Before you start creating any content or even think about planning a course that you want to create, you need to make sure that you're creating something that people want to buy. So why would people want to buy your course? Well, because it solves a problem. It gets them past a sticking point, somewhere they're stuck, somewhere they can't get past. And your course will help them resolve that problem, get over that hurdle and get to where they want to be. So, how do you go about this? If you've ever watched Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you'll see that the contestants on there, when they get stuck, they have some lifelines. Now, some of those lifelines don't have a very good success rate. Some of them are a bit rubbish, like 50-50. It's more pot luck generally. But some of them have a much higher success rate. And these are ask the audience and phone a friend. So if you want to know how to get somebody over a problem and find out what problem they need resolving so that your course can address it, then the best things you can do are ask your audience and phone a friend. Doesn't it make sense that the best way to find out what people really want is just to ask them? So start with going onto social media, particularly Facebook. Join Facebook groups where people who are likely to be interested in your proposed course subject hang out. People who are on there because they've got a problem, because it's an area that they're interested in. Get in those Facebook groups and start having some discussions. Ask people what their problems are, where they're stuck, where they're having trouble finding solutions to those problems. But firstly, remember, don't just jump into these groups and immediately start asking people questions, because you won't get really good responses. In fact, you might get no responses at all. You need to build trust with the people in that group. You need to show that you are a contributor. You need to give before you can take. So start in those groups by answering people's questions, by positioning yourself as an expert. Not somebody who's arrogant, but somebody who has knowledge and expertise that can gently help steer people in the right direction. If you do this over a period of time, you'll start to build trust and you'll start to position yourself as an expert in those groups and in those social media spaces. This is the stage when you can then start to ask people more about what their problems. In fact, just being in the groups, you'll see people asking questions, and that will give you an idea of where they're struggling. Now, you can also consider setting up your own social media community, or more simply, setting up your own Facebook group. You can invite people into that group. You can let them know very clearly what you're trying to offer people in that group, the type of people that you're trying to help. Now, you may not be able to run surveys in other people's groups. It just depends. You need to ask the owner or moderator or check the rules. But often you can't. But in your own group, you certainly can run surveys. So if you can get a decent number of people that you can survey, that is a really good way of getting more detailed information about what people are struggling with. You may find through this process that you actually change what you were originally intending to do as your course subject. And this is a really helpful process to go through. But if not, it'll really help you in validating your course subject that you started out with. So you can do these surveys really simply. You can do them using Facebook, or you can send them to a link with Google Forms, which is free to use. You don't need to incur any cost in order to do this, and you'll get really good valuable information. But when you've got it back from people, make sure you get back to them and thank them for completing your survey. They've given you their time and their thoughts, so it's only right that you should get back to them. But of course, when you get back to them, you can also ask them if they'd be interested in giving you some further information. You can even offer to jump on a call with them to help them more and ask them some more questions. That way, everybody benefits. These sort of interactions can be really useful, and you never know, some of these people might even end up eventually being customers of yours. So after you've interacted and collected data from people on social media, and you've surveyed some people and got some more detailed information, then you'll be at the stage where you've got a good idea of what people are looking for. But you need to validate it further, and the way to do this is through some very simple and straightforward keyword research. It doesn't have to be too complicated, but it's really important that you do some basic keyword research. The main reason for doing this is to make sure that there are enough people online searching for the subject that you're looking to create a course for. But you also need to have a look at the competition. You need to make sure there's not too much competition. If the competition's extremely high for what you're looking to create a course on, then you may find that for your first course, you just can't compete online. The only way to get competitive is to spend a massive amount of money on advertising, and that's not what you want for your first course. Look for something slightly different if there's too much competition. On the other hand, you may find there's almost no competition, and you may think this is a really good thing, but it's generally not. If there's no competition, that is a bit of a red flag. That really is a sign that there's nobody competing to sell those products, probably because nobody wants to buy those products. So be careful if you see very low or zero competition. So when you do your keyword research, you're looking for search terms relating to your course idea that have high volumes of searches, say more than 500 or 1,000 a month, and low or low-ish competition. And you also want to look at the AdWords cost, the cost per click that people are paying for online Google ads. If this is very high, that means it's generally high competition and people are paying for that advertising. And you've got to compete with those advertisers, even if you're not advertising, because the paid search results appear above the organic search results, which are the unpaid results, in Google's search pages that they serve up to searchers. You can easily do some of this keyword research using a couple of tools that I'd recommend, one free and one very low cost. The free one is called SEO Surfer, and the low cost one, which will give you more credits than you'll probably ever need for a year, for $10 I believe, is called Keywords Everywhere. I use Keywords Everywhere generally. I think it's a better tool. It has got a very low cost to it, and it will give you what you need. They're both Chrome extensions, so you can search for them in the Google Store and just add them for free. As soon as you've added and enabled the extensions, they'll start to show you the results. Anytime you do a search in Google, they'll display on the right hand side. If you don't like either of these tools, you can always go to Answer the Public and look at their free tool, which gives you a limited amount of information. Although some people just don't like the layout of it. It's up to you. So if you're using Keywords Everywhere, you'll find that it gives you, for each keyword that it serves up, the one you're searching for and related keywords, it gives you a competitiveness score. This is between 0 and 1. 0 means there's no competition. 1 means there's extremely high competition. You want to be looking for a score between 0.3 and 0.7 approximately. That means there's some competition because there's demand, but the competition isn't so high that you can't compete as a new course creator in the market. While you're doing this keyword research and you're putting your keywords into Google and searching, have a look at the results that come up. These will be competitors if you choose to create a course around these subjects. So take this time to look at the links, click on their links and look at their websites. Find out what you can about them. What does their website look like? What's your first impression? How easy is it to find their courses? What are they charging? What sort of size audience do they have? Find out whatever you can about what will be your potential competitors. What are the names and content of the courses they're offering? What's the scope? What sort of price level? Are they doing $49 courses? Are they doing $3,000 courses? All this is great information that you'll be using in the future. So just to summarise so far, you've asked your audience, you've effectively phoned a friend, you've researched your audience and your competitors, and now you've got two choices as to what you do next. The first thing you can do is take what you've learned and you can start planning, outlining and creating your online course. You'll probably, whatever you choose to do, you'll want to at least define what the deliverables are. What are you going to offer as a solution to people's problems? What is the transformation that you are going to provide for your students? You need to get this really nailed down at this stage. Now, as I mentioned, you can either start creating the content now, or you can start pre-selling your course before you actually get around to creating it. And that's not as mad as it might seem. It actually can be a really good idea. So let me explain why. Many course creators spend an eternity creating their course, trying to make it absolutely perfect before they even think about marketing and selling it. This means that the time between your conception of creating your course and actually getting your first income in can be a real long time. It can be 6 months, it can be 2 years in many cases, or sometimes it never happens, it's just gone on too long. So pre-selling your course can be a great idea for that reason, that you get more income in quicker. But also it helps you to create a better course. If you're going to pre-sell, I suggest you think about doing it to a relatively small audience. Think about what you need to earn from your first course. So let's say, just for argument's sake, you want to earn $4,000 from your first launch of your course. Now, in order to do that, you could launch your course at $20 and you'd need to sell 200. Or you could launch your course at, let's say, $160 and you'd need to sell 25. Or you could launch it at $400 or $397 or $399 and you'd only need to sell 10. Now, selling 10 or selling 25 courses is much, much easier than selling 200. Additionally, if you price your course too low, the perception is that it's got very little value. So pricing your course too low doesn't mean you'll sell a lot more. It means people will wonder if they should ever buy it because it can't really contain any useful content. How is something that costs $20 ever going to solve a real serious problem? So if you spent quite a long time building up an audience in social media or in Facebook or Facebook groups, you've got to know quite a few people. You've probably told them by now about what you're planning to do, and if you haven't, you should have done. These people will probably be aware that you're creating a course that is going to solve problems that relate to what they're trying to achieve. So these are the sort of people that you can talk to in Facebook groups and on other online communities. Invite them to do your course. Tell them it's going to be offered at a much lower price the first time. You're going to offer it at $199, whereas in future it'll be $799. As long as it's delivering good value, that's absolutely fine. Getting a small number of people to do your course the first time will not only get you some income, it will enable you to get a lot of feedback, which will enable you to then improve your course further, make it so much better for future iterations and releases, and charge more for it. You'll be able to make sure that people that go through your course get the solution that they're looking for. And that really adds value. Don't be tempted at this stage on your first course to go out and throw money at Facebook ads or something similar. It really can be very counterproductive unless you've got a very warm audience. So do it personally. Talk to people. Tell people what you're doing. Invite them in. Get them on a chat. Get them on a Zoom call. Talk to them in Messenger. Whatever you need to do. But get a small audience in who can help you launch your first course. You can pre-sell it to them. You've then got some money to help you create your course, launch it, and make it better for future launches. So there you have it. These are the ways to validate your online course subject so that you don't have to worry that after you've created it, that it's not going to sell. So I hope this has been useful for you. If it has, I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my channel and ring the bell so you get notified of future videos that I release for you. Now, if you think you've decided to pre-sell your course, you'll need to create a sales page and a checkout. So have a look at my video on the 11 essentials of a brilliant sales page that I'll put here. Just click on the link. I'll see you in the next video.